It's time. We've been waiting 245 days to gather again. 245 days to sing that good old Baylor line. 245 days to tailgate at McLean. 245 days to cheer as one. But those 245 days haven't been wasted. The early morning lifting weights, the late nights watching film, the endless snaps, and the Texas heat. All of that when no one was watching. That work is the foundation of our legacy, a legacy worth believing in. Believe in a legacy of green and gold. Believe in a legacy that has a certain expectation to a higher standard. Believe in a legacy bigger than ourselves. But now isn't the time to talk about our legacy. It's time to continue our legacy. Time to win every moment together as one. I believe.
Welcome to McLean Stadium. We are here on Touchdown Alley for the first segment episode, however you want to talk about it. We are so excited to be out here for the first game of the 2022 season. I'm Brooke Bednarz alongside Derek Smith and the voice of the Bears, John Morris. I mean, after a video like that with Coach Taff, how can you not be fired up that today is game day?
Find me a brick wall to run through right now.
He brings it
Isn't
every
that
time.
great? That was great. Coach Taff, we love you. That was so great. And anybody who sees that is going to be fired up for the season opener tonight.
Absolutely.
I love how, we're coming off a Big 12 championship. It's a new year. It's the present tied to the past, and all this program's about. It was a perfect intro to the year.
That was very well done.
Yeah.
Very well done.
It really is. It's just super exciting to be out here. We are wanting to take a moment just to recognize the fact that Baylor did lose Joy, and we were all very sad to hear that. You'll see pendants and stickers and everyone wearing those here today, so we just did want to make sure that we did take note of that. But we also have a great football game here tonight. University at Albany traveled all the way from New York to be here today for our season opener. It was a little bit interesting announcement back in February when our season opener changed.
Yeah, it did. We don't need to go through all the factors. We were originally supposed to play Louisiana Tech in this season opener. Things changed. Albany stepped in. UAlbany stepped in. And it'd be great having them here. First meeting all time between Baylor and the University at Albany. And they, from New York, came down a day early.
Yeah, they had a little
Thursday.
Texas tour.
Right, to kind of get acclimated to the weather. I don't know if you can do that in 2 days.
Can you notice how sweaty we are?
A little humid here.
It
Yes.
is a little bit humid. But that's the opponent. First meeting ever between Baylor and UAlbany.
Absolutely, and they're coming off a little bit of a rough year. They went 2-9 in their season, and obviously, Derek, we're coming off the best season of Baylor Bear football we've ever had.
And that's not hyperbole. You look at the record last year, 12-2, the Big 12 championship, the Sugar Bowl win. And you come in with such a high from that, and you come in and now pick to win the Big 12 for the first time. There's a lot of things coming into the year that are a little bit different, and this is a team that, as we'll talk about it over the next hour, you have a lot of returning veterans in key places, but a lot of newcomers too. I'm excited to see how they build on that as a unit, and I'm excited to see how this coaching staff coaches these guys up from now. Today, any season opener tends to be a little bit you're playing against yourself unless you start off with a really great opponent. I'm excited to see how they grow from today on.
Yeah, very much so, and it's a clean slate right now, and Coach Aranda has said that. Last year's team did wonderful things, which Derek articulated. But this is a new season, and you're starting fresh, and it's up to this group of Baylor Bears, to make their mark and leave their legacy.
One thing we've heard a lot is reporters and the media asking Coach Aranda, how do you keep the team away from all of that? And, of course, our phones have everything on it. These players are seeing the attention they're getting. There's a reason they're number 10 coming into this season and tonight's game. But what's been really neat is he said if we ask the question, what do we do now? That's the wrong question to ask. It is, who do we become? It's all about that identity. It's about who this team is going to develop into, these new guys that we haven't really met yet, who they're going to become, and how this new team is all going to fit together under the Dave Aranda umbrella. And I, for one, am very excited to see how all that plays together.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've talked a lot about teams take on over time the personality of their coaches in a lot of ways, which to me fills me with a ton of confidence because I love the way the Coach Aranda and this staff go about their business. Never too high, never too low, and they celebrate. There's moments to celebrate, but I feel like that approach is going to work really well for a team coming off of their best season ever, as you said. And I know they're going to spin it to where they're not the hunted, but everyone else is going to see Baylor as the hunted this year because of that. I think they're going to handle it really well.
I think they really are, too. We will be right back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show, and we'll welcome on one of Baylor's legends. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. We are out here on Touchdown Alley ahead of number 10 Baylor hosting UAlbany here at McLean Stadium. And John, we have the exciting continuation of welcoming Baylor legends to the desk. I'll let you do the honors and introduce today's guest.
Well, really fun and great to have back here at Baylor Matt Clark, former Baylor receiver is what it says. I'm going to say receiver and quarterback, and we'll talk about that. But Matt was here 1984, 1987. Welcome back.
Thank you, John. Good to be here.
You say your first game here at McLean Stadium?
It is. First game back, yeah.
Well, we're way overdue, and we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
What about let's talk about that first. Receiver was your main gig, but you were a short yardage quarterback, and you were really good at it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I was a quarterback in high school, right? And I don't know what Coach Taft's view was. They told me I was going to be a quarterback when I got here. I had two guys playing ahead of me named Tom Mickey and Cody Carlson.
They were pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Legends of their own.
It didn't take me long to realize that if I wanted to play quarterback, it'd be a long time. So, yeah, I switched to receiver that first year, and that was predominantly what I did. But, yeah, from time to time in certain situations, we'd get into the short yardage offense. And I play quarterback.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, really until the recent success of Baylor in the, 2000s, 2010s, those back-to-back seasons you were a part of, 1985 and 1986, were really the best back-to-back years Baylor had ever had. Those were two great seasons, and you were a big part of that.
Well, it was, and we were excited about it. You look back on it, and you don't want to, you never want to be ungrateful, so to speak, or whatever. Particularly, well, I would say both of those seasons at 9-3. At the end of the season, we were, extremely proud of what we accomplished. I think we all felt like we left some things on the table back then. But yeah, I mean that's the way sports go, right?
Yeah. Liberty Bowl win in 1985 over LSU, Bluebonnet Bowl win over Colorado in 1986. Remember how cold it was, that Liberty Bowl in Memphis?
I do remember that. I remember putting on a lot of clothes. The warm gear wasn't quite what it is now.
Yeah, right.
It was more about layers, right? And I remember going out for warm up and coming back in and having to take stuff off because I was too bundled up, couldn't move.
That was cold.
Yeah.
Matt, you talk about some of the great names on that team, great guys that you played with. The record was great. How would you describe that team's identity to fans who didn't get to see you all play?
Selfless. I think we had a lot of guys that did a lot of different things, not necessarily unsung, certainly to the team, but I think guys were willing to do what it took to win, do what it took to be good teammates, and I mean that's what I reflect on and think about the guys that I played with and how we weren't too concerned about who got credit for what, but just the fact that we were winning ball games.
The game trailer that came out today was narrated by Coach Taff. It had a lot of footage from your days, the wise days.
Your days.
The wise days. And today, the intro video for football, that will be the same thing. A lot of reflecting on the foundation that was built. How exciting is it for you to see that foundation continue to be developed upon and to have the year like these guys had last year?
Well, it's if you think about 30-something years since I played in the ups and downs, the Baylor program and certain things. But I look at never had the privilege of meeting Coach Aranda, but I look at how the program is being run and conducted, and that goes back to Coach Rule as well. And I think it's very similar to the way Coach Taff ran the program, and it's great. It's gratifying, especially for us old guys to see it get back to that level again. Wise guys, right?
Yeah,
older, seasoned, mature, whatever. But yeah, it is gratifying. Something that I'm very proud of.
Tell us about your family and what some of them are here with you today and what you're doing now.
Yeah, my wife Doris is here, and her parents, Obie and Dolores Draper, are here as well. So we have 2 children. Our son Noah is in Washington D.C. He works for a cybersecurity consulting firm. He played baseball there and got a graduate degree there. And then our daughter Elle is going to be a junior at UCLA studying biology. My wife and I were just out there this week getting her moved into her apartment. We drove halfway across country to get back this week, and had a day off and then jumped in the car and drove down here today.
Well, we are glad you made the sacrifice to be here with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's good to be here.
Yes, we have greatly enjoyed getting to spend time with you. Congratulations on not only a successful career at Baylor, but being the legend here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yep. Congratulations, man.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
We'll be right back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show after this. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz, Derek Smith, John Morris, and JJ Joe.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here.
We got all the legends this week.
Well, hey, following Matt, that's tough.
Yeah.
Follow
big
Matt.
shoes to fill. Glad you're here. Good to see you. Let's play some football.
Yeah, it's been a long off season. I mean, it just when you win, and then you have to wait. What is it, 9 months or whatever it is? It's just a long wait.
Well, John, what is it? 28 seasons calling Baylor football for you?
Sure.
36 overall?
Yes.
All right, and a good chunk of those have been with color analyst JJ Joe.
How about 19?
19?
Wow.
19.
That's a
Isn't
lot.
that
That makes
great?
me feel real old, man. I mean, 19
Legend
years.
status.
Where'd that grade come
Some
from?
would say.
It did. I mean, like, that's the three boys, I think, you know.
I want to give a quote. John and JJ, you tell me who said this
Okay.
quote. I'm going to pull back a
Oh,
little
I'm
bit.
ready.
Okay.
He didn't get in. He didn't get in. He didn't get in.
Yeah. I was hoarse. I was hoarse. Yeah. It's a great
And
day.
there's video that goes along with
Yeah,
that,
I
too.
didn't
So,
really-
yeah, that's really fun. Wasn't that fun last year? I mean,
Oh,
what
my
a great
gosh.
year
Yeah.
for Baylor football and the way it ended with the Big 12 championship in such dramatic fashion and then win the Sugar Bowl on top of it.
Yeah, John, I didn't think it could get better after we, won in 13, and we did against Texas, closed the case. And then 14, we had another good year. But I'll tell you, last year was just almost the epitome. The only thing that I guess we missed the playoff, that's it. But, I mean, it was a great season and the best in Baylor football history.
Yeah.
I mean, and we got to be front row center in most of them.
Yeah.
Y'all got the best seats in the house.
We did. We did.
really
At least
did.
when we're at home, we did, right?
Yeah.
Right,
At
that's
Cowboy
fair.
Stadium, actually, that turned out to be the best seat. We used to complain how bad
That's
the seat
exactly
was.
right. Yep.
But we were right there, basically in the end zone where everything happened.
Y'all were in
And
it.
man,
OSU was not.
Oh goodness, it was great.
That play was running right toward us. I mean, think about it. It could have been the other end
Yeah.
of the field, would have been completely as far away as it could have been away
Right.
from us, but it came right toward us, and that was great.
And that's
was
why
fun.
that call was so good, Derek.
It was.
They were
yes.
seeing it and live right at them.
I maybe
It
listened
helps.
to that 200 or 300 times
Oh.
the days after. So.
Well, I mean, if
yeah.
that doesn't get you fired up for
Yeah.
game day, I don't know what will.
Oh yes.
Hey, what do you think? So now, what do you do for an encore? Right?
Yeah.
This team is, to me, it's built for more than just one season.
Yes.
It is. I mean, and really, you really want to start at the lines. If you have a choice, you want to start at the lines. And I was going through the charts this week studying. I'm amazed at how many defensive linemen we have, and to have 4 guys back that started 14 games last year in your front line. And then so if you have to play any heavyweight, you're gonna hold up front, and that's what's most important. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Blake plays. But more than anything, I'm looking forward to see how those wide receivers play because we lost 3 really good guys.
As a quarterback, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you're going to have a young quarterback. Blake Shapen we saw him a couple of games last year mixed in with Bohannon, but now he is officially the guy, QB1. How important is that experience coming back, second most experienced in the nation at the O-line? How is that going to help him and the younger guys like Tay McWilliams back there and then the younger wideouts?
Well, I was asked this question earlier. I mean, it's good to have your center back. So, he has a center back, and that center is so important because he's like the quarterback of protection to have him, and then to have those guys who are in an effective running game. So beyond that, really, on the edge, you just need 1 or 2 guys to like really step up because you have Ben Sims, and when you have Ben Sims in an effective running game, Ben is going to get bracketed. The running game, they're going to commit. You're going to get a bunch of edge one-on-ones, and guys, they have talent. They just have to figure out how to win.
JJ, we talk about Blake Shapen winning the competition, getting to play behind that line. I really like the way the coaching staff handled the quarterback competition this year. If you're Blake Shapen, how do you think that competition and winning it and the opportunities you got last year impacts who he starts out as this year?
No, I think, Blake has shown over years. He's been in the program, 3 years now? So he's a leader, right? He proved it on the field that he should play. And he proved it, and he just got hurt and didn't play the bowl game. But so since he's proved that, really now all it is he has to learn how to manage a season. And that's just something new. I had a chance, I think, my redshirt freshman year to play like 4 or 5 games. And then the next year, I had to learn how to manage, hey, I need to be here for 12 weeks, maybe 13 or 14 weeks. And that's a different kind of playing style than playing, I got 3 games in a season remaining. So he has to figure that out.
Let's reflect back on the good old days for you. bring you to some legend. We got some video we can run.
Yeah.
But
this'll be
walk us through what it was like to play at Baylor and as quarterback and to be that offensive leader for the Bears.
It was very exciting. We got to play some really good games. I got to play some really good teammates. And really what you learn pretty quickly is that, as the leader, as a quarterback, it's different. You just have to be a different, you can't do some of the things some of the other guys do. And on Saturday, you have to be one of the most prepared, and you have to know everything. And I think Blake won't have an issue with that. And I'm really excited to see how he starts out, because I think he has the ability to be the best quarterback in this conference if he stays healthy.
Let me ask you this. I don't think we've ever talked about this before, but you chose and wore number 13. Some people, run away from 13. What did you like about 13?
That was a Dan Marino.
Okay.
He threw a lot. In high school, I wore it. And that's why I run it. Roger Staubach was my favorite quarterback, but I liked the way Marino threw.
Yeah.
That's how I started running.
Nice. Very good. Well, let's get things going. And you put Blake Shapen in the spotlight to start things out tonight. We appreciate you being on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you. We'll be
Thanks,
right
TJ.
back. Welcome back out on Touchdown Alley here at McLean Stadium. We're geared up for Baylor versus UAlbany. And now we have Ricky Thompson here, another Baylor Athletics Hall of Famer, NFL rock star. Every good thing about him. Yeah. And we were mentioning earlier, John, this is your 28th consecutive season to be calling and on the broadcast for this. We got 23.
Yeah,
we thought 19 with
how about
JJ
that?
was long. We got 23 right here with Ricky.
I don't know how to take that. There were I think I told you an official last year. He said, "How long have you been doing this?"
Take it the right way.
And I told him, and he said, "Well, that's one less year than I've been doing it." And I said, "Well, let's retire together at some point." So,
But not this year.
not this year.
Not this year. You don't want to retire after a season like last season. Wasn't that fun?
Oh gosh, I mean, can you believe only 9 months ago or 8 months ago, really? And what a great way to end the season. I mean, we were just looking at pictures on the wall in there, and the call these guys made, and the embarrassing picture of me on the sideline with my throwing up like we had just.
Not embarrassing.
I was about to say, I think
Well,
we all
yeah,
looked the
yeah.
same. If there were
But
photos of all of us.
I tell you, I had the benefit of really standing right there, and you know he didn't get in, but you still wanted to see that official say he didn't get in. So JJ was telling us he didn't get in.
Yeah, just listen to JJ.
But he doesn't count. We needed the stripe guy to say he didn't get in. And as soon as he started doing this, you just see Terrell Bernard and Al Walcott sprinting back to the bench, and you knew it was over at that point. How exciting.
Now, you were as close to that play as anybody. I mean, closer than us. Did you know? I mean, did you feel certain that he didn't get in?
I did, because I was watching the pylon.
Right.
And
right,
when he went
right.
out of bounds that hard and that fast,
Right.
the pylon did not move
It stayed right there.
at all. And I'm thinking, he didn't get in. But I don't count either. So, yeah, I didn't think he got in.
true.
But
Yeah.
when he cut – first of all, I think that play was intended to go right in the middle, and our guys had it stuffed. He breaks outside, and, of course, we had one guy out there, luckily, McVay, and what a play he made
Sharon
to stop
McVay.
that.
Oh, he was a baller that
Building
game.
a
Yeah,
statue.
who will ever forget that? And the thing of it is, I don't think anybody understands, really even us, how hard that was. It's two guys going full speed with about 2 yards to get in the end zone, and McVay plays it perfectly. I mean, absolutely perfectly. Big 12 champions.
Ricky, you are on the sideline every game. I'm curious. I know you're working, but are you able to get a sense? Do you ever able to take the temperature of what different sidelines are like, what a Dave Aranda's sideline is like as opposed to other coaches? Do you ever get a sense of that?
Sure, and I think you pick that up even with the players in particularly. You see how they're playing, and I can tell you one thing about it that you can notice that reflects off Dave's attitude is, number one, these guys are pretty calm in every situation. They don't get real excited, yet they play really hard. That's pretty tough to keep people focused and not real emotional, yet play really hard. And I think that's something that Coach Aranda has been able to do with these guys, and I think that's a different aspect that we've seen to our sideline, and I think it's a very positive one. Now, when the occasion occurs, that sideline is pretty vocal and pretty excited. But in general, I think they play composed, and that's really critical. Last year, we had a couple games in a row with zero penalties.
Yeah.
When have we heard of that?
Yeah.
And I think that's a reflection of a coaching staff.
Well, and that's something he calls it competitive maturity. And as we mentioned earlier, there are, looking at this depth chart, while we have a lot of returners up at the front in the lines, some of our new faces are coming up on in the skilled positions, wide receiver, running backs, safeties, etc. And so one thing Coach was talking about this week is finally getting to see where those athletes are, where they are in their identity, where they're going to need to kind of step up and to keep that competitive maturity. And I think, John, he was giving you an example of when there was somebody that kind of messed up a little bit, and then they really were like, nuh-uh, we're not going to get that penalty. We are a no-penalty team. And so I think I'm really excited to see what they're able to do out there and see where these new guys are, because they've been around. We just haven't gotten to know them yet.
Yeah, and I think, too, practice is time well spent, and scrimmages even more so. But that's not Saturday.
Nope.
And I think it's really important to see what these guys do in a game. I'll give you just a story about that. I played with a guy named Mark Monk in Washington, who's a Hall of Fame receiver, and they were doing a story on the receivers, an ABC channel, and it was Art and I talking to the reporter, and they asked, we ran a quick slant quite often, and it got pretty physical in the middle, and we didn't always look forward to having it called, to tell you the truth. So this guy's asking, what's the best time to run that play? And we just look at each other, and finally Art said, on Friday. Yeah, so there is a point to that we don't know what these guys are going to do in the game. And some of them will step up and play really, really well, and some may struggle early, but they've got to get that experience. They've got to get the game speed. No matter what you do in practice, it ticks up a notch in a game, and the speed picks up. But I think these guys will do fine. I've seen a lot of talent out there at the receiver position, at running back, at the safeties. I think those are the positions that are going to be new to us position-wise, personnel-wise, and I think these guys are going to do well.
You were telling us a little bit before the show started, but who are you looking most to watching play at that wide receiver position?
I like Monterey Baldwin. He's not a big kid, but you just watch this guy in the slot. If he ever gets on a linebacker or safety, they're in trouble because our corners had an awfully hard time of jamming him, getting their hands on him. He's so quick, but he's fast. He can catch the ball. He's not a big outside guy like a Hal Presley, who I think is going to be very important to this offense too. But this kid can fly, and I think he's going to be really tough. And I think you'll see him on some sweet-type runs carrying the ball a little bit like we did against Ole Miss. So really looking forward to see him play.
Well, we're really looking forward to hearing you on the sideline, getting those halftime interviews and all of that unique perspective. Thanks again to Ricky Thompson for stopping by. We'll be right back with more of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show and start breaking down this Baylor offense and defense. Welcome back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show. I'm Brooke Bednarz. We got Derek Smith over here to my left, and none other than Elliot Coffey. Elliot, it's been too long.
It's been too long. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back. We are sad. Take a comment, take a note. Seth, if you're watching, we're missing you out here today. Our offensive analyst, former quarterback Seth Russell, unable to be with us here today. So Elliot, our former linebacker, defensive analyst, is going to carry the weight for both of them.
Double
you think
duty.
You can handle that?
Double duty. I think I can handle it.
Good. Happy to hear it.
He lined up against a few wide receivers in his day. He knows what they're supposed to do.
That's right.
Threw them off their game a little bit.
Hit a couple quarterbacks, and so.
Well, let's take a second to reflect on the success of the offense last year.
Man.
And how we're going to build on that moving into this season.
I'm telling you, when you look at the production that we had from somebody like Taekwon, who's in New England, absolutely playing out of his mind right now. You have guys like Treston and guys like Abe. You just look around and you see that what they built is going to stick around. But what they were able to do to go to the best season Baylor football has ever seen, man, it was an impressive year, and it was individual contributors that really built out that whole image that that RVO that we've been trying to establish here, right? That reliable, violent offense. And so week to week, you saw guys get better. You saw that offensive line really become a cohesive unit. You saw the receivers really step up. You saw plays made really when we didn't expect them to be, right? Just really, really unique guys. And so last year was as much fun as I've had watching our offense in the last decade or so.
When I think this year it's going to be even more exciting. They named Blake Shapen QB1 early on. That allowed the offense someone to really rally around. They weren't having to sit there and decipher which quarterback was going to be the guy. Blake is the guy. That's who we're going with. Very excited to see him develop. He's got that long ball. I think we're going to see more of that. And also, he comes from a baseball background, and when you see that, you see him throwing at crazy angles and getting things done and sliding it in there last second. So I'm very excited to see him and these new wide receivers that Ricky was just talking about, Hal and Monterey, and how they really come together against this Great Danes defense.
You know, he's going to work. He's going to develop as the year goes on. He got some great experience last year with the win in the Big 12 championship game, Texas Tech, Kansas State, etc. Elliot, from your standpoint, what does his skill set open up in this Baylor offense?
The offense.
The whole RVO offense.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you look at a quarterback that can distribute the ball the way that he can, it really does open up everything, right? Because you look at one of the things that was missing from our offense last year was the deep ball. Taking off the top, right? Because when you take off the top, what that allows you to do is that allows you to open up the run game, right? Because if you have that threat of that play action turning into something dropping over the top of you, then it brings everybody up, right? And so we've got speed on the back end. I have no doubt that we have receivers that can take advantage of that, but excited to see the ball get distributed naturally the way that I think we all see, right? We saw a lot of that kind of short game, 10 to 15 yards, and you didn't see much deep. Right, and so I think now with Chapin out there, with his ability, as you said, to throw from different angles, to get different reads, and just get the ball out, I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think you're just going to see a ton more points on the board from this offense.
And if you are a new Baylor fan, RVO, Reliable Violent Offense, it's what Coach Grimes brought here from BYU. We can talk about that all we want next week, but RVO, it's very exciting. It's a few plays, a lot of different ways, tons of misdirection, and that kind of goes into what you were talking about, where they line up and it looks like it could be a pass or it could be a run, and now knowing that that threat is real,
right,
I think that's going to really compound that. And then when the running game is opted and we get the ball in Tay McWilliams' hands or anyone else back there that's really, they're ready. They kind of have that Abram Smith vibe where they are looking to make contact.
Yeah, and I mean, if you even think about the two losses that we had last year, Oklahoma State in TCU, what really hurt us in those games is the inability to throw the ball downfield. They loaded the box, right? We know how well we were running the ball with Abram. We know how well we were running the ball with Treston, but once they loaded the box, we had the inability to really spread it out, right, to make them honest and on their reads. And so what I see now is being able to exploit somebody when they do that. If you want to load 9 people in the box and have man on the outside, just watch what happens to you. We'll cut you up, death by 1,000 cuts. And so I think we'll see more of that here. I think particularly with the lines as dominant as they will be, having the ability to throw the ball deep too is just going to make it very difficult to play us.
Well, and it's very exciting. We'll talk a little bit about this later, but second most experienced offensive line when it comes to games played is our offensive line. And one thing that is really special to me is they all had this extra year due to COVID, and they all kind of looked at each other, and they told me they made the decision individually, but it's a lot of credit to offensive line coach Eric Mateos and Grimes, who is an offensive line coach in the past. They all have that mindset. And for all of them to kind of look together and say, you know what, we're going to get this band back together and we're going to run it back one more time. I am very excited to see all that they're able to accomplish.
That was the best January on Twitter in a while.
It was.
Every day a new lineman says, I'm coming back.
That's right.
We're coming back. And we will come right back and talk more about this offensive line as well as the defense. Did you like that?
I did.
Yeah. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We got number 10 Baylor hosting University at Albany. They're all the way here from New York, here to experience a little bit of Texas. I heard they went to Topgolf. I heard they sweated just like this in the heat. They got some practices at McLean, and then they had some good old Texas barbecue. And now we're going to talk about some good old Baylor defense.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yeah, was it a vacation or is this a football game? What do we call these
There's a Texas tour.
It's right, it's a
How
Texas
can you
tour.
not come to Texas and see all the things?
Good for them. Good
Yes.
for them. I'm excited. They deserve that.
Yes, the Great Danes are running around Waco.
That's right. Yeah, defense, right? Defensively, we've got some absolute dogs that we have to replace. Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard, right? Kalen Barnes on the outside, right? JT Woods. These are all guys drafted and playing on Sundays right now. And when you look at the defense, how did we come back with a stronger defensive line than we left last season with, even losing those guys?
Yep.
Right? If you look across the defensive line, I mean, I could just sit here and list the sizes of these guys. Cole Maxwell, 6'5", 285. Siaki Ika, 6'4", 358. Gabe Hall, 6'6", 296. Garmin Randolph, 6'7", 247.
That's ridiculous.
When's the last time we've had a defensive line that looked like that?
Big 12 power forwards in
my
there.
gosh,
Right.
is that a basketball team?
Yeah.
That's right. I can't tell you, how excited I am looking at this defense because it all starts up front in the trenches. That's what separates, a really good team from a dominant, potentially playoff national champion style team. Now, it's not just the fact that we have that talent across the line; it's the fact that we have depth behind those guys. Right? You look at a guy like T.J. Franklin. Think of all the success he's had. Jackson Player, what a transfer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's something we're going to talk about inside the numbers is what we've been able to do, what we've maybe lacked historically with bringing kids in from high school, what we've been able to make up for by bringing in transfers, right? Have had success at other places, want to play here, want the opportunity to play for a championship. And so when I look at this defense, I just see a ton of opportunity. You've got new guys on the back end. I think at times that's what we struggled with last year, particularly if you look at games like for next week, BYU, taking off the top. We have some new names in the secondary, but other than that, I mean, the core people, Dylan Doyle's back in there, right? Matt Jones moving off the line of scrimmage to Will, right? Al Walcott, who was a guy that stepped in for Raleigh Tejada when he struggled a little bit last year at corner, now playing star. So you've got all of these different storylines and themes that are going on right now that I'm chomping at the bit. It's game time, baby. I'm excited to see it play out.
Well, and it's been really neat to see. They did kind of a little bit of a shuffle. Some of the guys are still solid. We got Matt Jones, Dylan Doyle, like you said, also one of those transfers that came in, instantly made a huge impact. I would call him kind of the quarterback of the defense. He is that leadership that everyone's looking toward. But then you have the kind of shuffle. You got Al moving into that star position, not to replace Jalen Petrie. Jalen Petrie is Jalen Petrie. Al Walcott is Al Walcott, and he is also a playmaker, and I am very excited to see the kind of plays he's able to make only because we have the defensive line that we got.
That's right.
Well, I like this coaching staff's ability to identify what guys' skill sets are and where they'll be most successful. I mean, no doubt them realizing that with Jalen Petrie elevated the entire team and his NFL prospects. When you look at this, where there are some younger players at the cornerback spot, at a safety spot, where do you think a veteran like Al Walcott in the backfield and that defensive line will help the most as other guys progress?
Well, I mean, I think, once again, it goes back to the coaches kind of just laying the groundwork and what guys like Jalen Petrie were able to do. Al Walcott coming in and being somebody that can be back in the secondary, maybe making calls, relaying messages to the younger guys that are behind him, but also being somebody that can step in, I think it creates a ton of opportunity for us there.
Well, and we talk a lot about the defensive line, the depth of the defensive line. I mean, you named just the three starters. We're going to be rotating guys in left and right, especially today in this first game, getting a lot of people experience. One of those is Bo Chow Jin, and he is quite familiar with UAlbany.
They call me Frank at first.
Okay, and now what are we?
Call me Bo.
Bo.
B-O, that's my real Chinese name.
Bo Chow Jin was born in Beijing, China. But just before he was set to start 8th grade, his parents sent him to Rochester, New York, as an international exchange student.
I met Frank, I'd say 8th grade.
8th grade, first class. Him and me, we was the only two biggest kids.
We were the two biggest kids in the grade, so we both stuck out like sore thumbs.
Thanks to his size, the coaches at Bo's new school encouraged him to play football for the first time ever.
I've been living with 4 different families. And my last one is the one that stayed with the longest, is my high school teammate.
From sophomore year until high school graduation, Bo lived with his friend and teammate Tyson Foster and his family.
He became more than a friend, he became family. I mean, Frank went everywhere. He went on vacation with us, holidays. We went to the mall, he came everywhere with us. So he's more of a family member after a couple months.
We call a brother from another mother.
Unfortunately, these two brothers had to split up after graduation. Tyson stayed in New York to play football, and Bo eventually found his way to Texas, walking on at Baylor.
I still text him all the time, call him.
So when some exciting news broke, Tyson's first reaction was,
I gotta call Frank.
I thought that was a fake news or something. I couldn't believe it.
He goes, you're joking, right? I go, no, I'm serious. I go, we're playing each other the first game.
So for the Foster and Jen families, this year's season opener is special. It's a true family reunion.
He'll be part of our family till the day he dies, and it's just been an honor to have him as another brother.
In addition to these brothers meeting on the field, their families will meet in the stands. The Fosters are flying in from New York, and Bo's parents, they're here all the way from China to see their son play for the first time in 2 years. How excited are you?
I'm very excited, and because this chance is really rare. So.
I got to say, that package made me probably a lot of other people a Bo Chow Jin fan. And Brooke, great job with that. Great job unearthing that story. Let us get to know him and Tyson.
Thank you. It was a fun experience. So we were at Football Content Days. That's where we get a lot of my interviews done. And, we were just talking about being from China and what it was like to come over to the United States. And, he was telling me about the host families. And his last one was a high school teammate that just happened to play on Albany. And I was like, what? UAlbany, like the random team that we're about to have as our season opener?
That we had never heard about until February of this year.
February 15th, when that news broke. So I had to dive in, hear that conversation, and it is just, I want to give a shout out to both of their families. Bo Chow's family came all the way from China, agreed to come see the stadium. That was a really special moment. First time in 2 years that they got to see each other because of the pandemic, and we all know how that is. That's tough. So very excited for them. And then also the Fosters, who Bo Chow considers his American family. They got his driver's license for the first time. All those big moments. But Melissa Foster has helped with that story, sent a lot of photos, and the one thing she just kept saying is he's just a part of the family. This is part of the family. They're here today. Grandparents are here today. Even high school coach is here today.
Oh,
so
God,
it's a special day.
Oh, my gosh. I love it. The game of football bringing families together from all over the world.
Gotta love football. It's more than just a sport. But we're going to dive into inside the numbers, take a look at some of the stats that will lead the production of today's game when we are back. Don't go anywhere. Final segment of the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show right after this.
And we welcome you back to the Baylor Alumni Tailgate Show season opener. Your 10th ranked Bears defending Big 12 champs welcome UAlbany to McLean Stadium. And Brooke, Elliott, let's go inside the numbers here as we get ready for a kickoff here in just a little bit. And the numbers that stood out, I think, to me, probably most everyone, is the offensive line. And
Absolutely.
I think we tried to give them their due earlier, but even more so now. You look at a team that has lost all but a couple of receptions from last year. Top 3 running backs have moved on, and yet everyone's so optimistic. It's because of the O-line.
Yeah.
It's because of the O-line.
It is. And the one thing I've been saying is, if you listen to these guys talk about each other, if you listen to just the energy that they have between them, it sounds from the top down, looking at Coach Aranda, all the way down to, it doesn't matter which offensive line, they all have the same message. They all have the same kind of story that they're telling right now. And one thing that I love is Jacob Gall was talking during training camp about how last year is a transfer. A lot of those guys were still trying to figure each other out. Grant, why did you do this, right? Connor, why did you do that? But now, instead of him having to ask that question after the play, they understand it, right? That second year is a lot like being a freshman, right? Showing up, new terminology, new people that you're playing next to. But those guys, after all that success they had being a new hodgepodge group of guys last year, they get to run it back. And they get all that time that they have together, and on top of it, they love each other, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned you can hear it in the way they talk. You can see it in the way they carry themselves. Before, it was more of, okay, who's going to fit into which position? Now it's like, this is the unit. And we had 4 super seniors coming back. Who's that 5th going to be? Somebody who still has tons of game experience. I think 5 projected starters average 34 games in their career.
That's right.
That is experience that is unparalleled when it comes to playing in the Big 12.
Well, and you look at what they did. They have 34 games on average, and the rest of the offense outside of Ben Sims only averages 8 games coming into the year. They played 8 games on average coming into the year outside of Ben Sims, so you need that experience up front. And you talk about the confidence they had. So they got the resume now. You know, you look, they led the Big 12 and were top 10 in the nation last year in rushing yards per game and rushing yards per carry. They only allowed 18 sacks in 14 games. It's the confidence that comes from having played together, but also from having played together really, really well. And that's why I'm excited about this year. I think the young guys have that time to develop.
When you mentioned Ben Sims, give him credit where credit's deserved.
Yes. Hey, so trivia question that you might be able to surprise some of your Baylor friends with. What tight end has more touchdowns than any other tight end in Baylor history? Got this from Jerry Hill, our friend Jerry Hill. The answer's Ben Sims. Ben Sims, in 2 seasons, 1 shortened by COVID, has more touchdowns than any other tight end in Baylor history. I mean, he looks the part.
He does.
How hard would he be to cover as a linebacker?
It's so frustrating, right? Because when you have a tight end that's willing to block, then you never know if they come downhill at you, if they're blocking or if they're going to release. And he's a guy that he's going to get in your face mask. He's going to drive you to the ground, but he's also going to hit you with a swim move and maybe even have a carry and rush into the end zone, right? So when you're caught guessing, when you can have one look and 3 things come out of it, it just makes things really difficult. On top of that, he's a 6'4", 6'5", 245-pound guy, right? So once you figure out what he's going to do, then you got to deal with him. And that just makes things really hard.
That reliable, violent offense we talk about, Elliot, I'm asking you, how big of a role does the tight end play in that, especially not just factoring in how much more experience Ben Sims and how good he is, but just in general what that position can mean?
And we're hearing that it's going to be even more than last year.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you have time to build out the playbook, right? And you have a chance with the quarterback now where you can kind of feed into some more things that maybe we didn't get to see last year. But it just makes it difficult. Anytime you have to guess what's happening, anytime you have that tight end and he steps off the line of scrimmage, he's got 5 things he can do from here. Hey, the tight end steps onto the line of scrimmage, or he switches sides, or he's split out, and you have all of these different looks. For a defender, those different looks in running maybe similar plays or night and day different plays out of those same formation makes things very, very hard. And so on top of that, when you have a really skilled athlete and then a nasty offensive line to accompany him, like I said, I'm excited to see things play out. I don't want to put too much hype into this season, but I am very excited to see this offensive line, including Ben Sims, get to work.
Well, and then there's a couple more people that I am excited about. We saw last year the success that a guy like Abram Smith had switching into that running back role.
Yeah.
We have Josh Fleeks moving from wideout into the running back room. Very excited to see how that room, Tay McWilliams, et cetera, how they continue to kind of rally around and build each other, working behind that offensive line that has so much experience. And then someone, thank you, God, We have Gavin Holmes healthy.
Yes, we do.
Keep praying for him to stay healthy because that he deserves this opportunity. Sixth-year senior, bringing a lot of experience into that wideout room. Very excited to get him finally playing after 2 ACLs and a foot thing last year.
Right.
He's back.
Yep.
So very exciting to see what all the Bears can accomplish in their first test tonight. Kickoff is at 6 o'clock on ESPN+. We'll be here, right here on Touchdown Alley. We're sending it upstairs to the voice of the Bears, John Morris. So don't go away. The show will continue on the radio, but we'll see you out there for kickoff. Number 10 Baylor against UAlbany right here on ESPN.
Have a game day, Baylor family.
Yeah, sick 'em.
Sick 'em. Sick 'em.
This has been an exclusive presentation from Learfield.